Given that hopefully most of you heard me deliver the keynote this morning, I'm going to do a really quick introduction. And then I've decided to kind of completely reformat the way that I was going to do this originally and make it more of an open Q&A with a few slides and information that can be shared. So for those who haven't met me and have not come in contact with me before, my name is Sonya Barlow. I am an award-winning entrepreneur, founder of LMF Network CIC, a podcast host, woman in tech, diversity consultant, and kind of all-round activist, I'd say. LMF Network CIC, aka Like-Minded Females, was founded 2 years ago as a brunch club, and that brunch club has now transformed and transitioned into a global not-for-profit social enterprise and community with over 17,000 following, delivering 110 workshops, upskilling over 2,000 people, working with over 50 global partner clients, and most importantly, creating supportive communities in the likes of the UK, Canada, Spain, to really make sure that we are enabling and empowering women and minoritized groups into tech, business, and entrepreneurship. In April, for example, when COVID hit and we went online, we had over 21 webinars online, had over 1,000 signups and 786 people actually attended. We had kind of participants all the way from Guatemala to Peru to India, Sri Lanka, Australia. And so I'm really mindful that you have been in quite a lot of sessions today, that you've just come back from lunch. So if you have any questions, please do start sharing them in the chat. We can definitely go through them. And if you have any comments or anything that you'd like to raise, again, do the same thing and I'm happy to support you and help. It'd also be great to understand who is on the chat. So please do introduce yourselves and connect. That'd be great. One of the easiest ways when we think about community and when we think about building our network is networking, right? It's introductions, it's pitching yourself. So if we were here in person, I would assume that you possibly would turn to the person next to you, either side, and introduce yourself. What does that look like? How would you have done that? I'm going to write in the chat, and this is probably an easy way to do so and hopefully helpful. So you start with who you are, to what you do, 3, kind of what your passions are, what your strengths are or where you can support. 4, kind of what your goals are or what you're looking for. And 6, your social handles. And the reason for this is that there are hundreds of people in this conference today, and we're talking about using tech to build community. Community, as a basic definition, is the coming together of same or similar people based on same or similar values. And I would say anywhere over 2 people is a community. Technology, well, here we are using our tech to make sure that we can have a discussion, to make sure we can connect with others and that we can create new friendship groups. So for example, Vicky says, Vicky, working at University of York as a system support specialist, and I have background in history and libraries. That's amazing, right? Completely different to what I do. Really, really interesting, exciting. So Vicky, if I was to ask you, why are you looking for a sense of community and what do you want from community? So everyone who's listening either now here or listening afterwards, those are 2 questions that I'd love for you to share your answers in the chat or for you just to think about. We're talking about community. We're talking about same or similar people who share the same or similar values and want to support each other. Great. But why do you want some community? And how can community support you? So for Vicky, for example, she's the only woman in her team and wants to have someone with shared experiences. Perfect. When I started LMF Network, I was the only woman of color in my team. I was one of the only ambitious people, but believe it or not, my personality didn't really stick at work. I worked in media agencies, everyone had their own vibe, but I didn't drink alcohol, I didn't really stay out late. I commuted to work, so I couldn't really go to the social events, but I was really curious and really energetic. And one of the things that my manager said to me was she took me to the side and she said, leave your personality at home. I was like, I don't know what that means. But what it did mean is that I showed up to work a completely different person and I wasn't myself, and therefore I didn't enjoy it in the end. So one of the reasons why I focused on community, or I focused on community and built a community, is because I wanted to be around people whose personalities could shine and we could support each other to grow, especially in the tech world. 1 in 4 of us suffer from mental health issues, 1 in 5 from loneliness and isolation. There's research being done in America on the scale of social belonging, i.e., do you belong? Do you feel like you belong? Why do you not belong? And what does belonging even mean? So let me ask you 3 questions and I'll let you answer them privately in your own time, in your own space, but just to get an idea of where you are. 1, if you've had a bad day, would you know where to go to seek support? 2, if you wanted to talk about work or progression or vent, would you have someone that you could ring up really easily? Or 3, when you go online, when you are offline, when you are around people, do you feel energized? Do you feel as if you're uplifted? Or do you feel burnt out and as if they don't understand? 1, if you answered it as a 1, it's yes, I know what I'm doing. And a 5 is no, I have no clue. Most of us sit somewhere between a 3 and a 4. Midway between I have no clue and I'm pretty neutral about this. And so the sense of community is that, and exactly that. Community is around and about finding people that get you. Being around others that really understand what you have to give and how you can make them better. And being in a place where you are supporting those around you so that you are all being uplifted and you are all winning. How do you find a sense of community? And where do you find community? Well, the truth is we have technology at the basis of our hand. Everything we do is tech related. And so when they're tech related, it means we literally can use online media Sorry, I think the connection went. I don't know if it went for you all as well. Cool. Tried to share screen, but didn't work. So we're going to carry on. So how do you build community? My first thing or tip for you all to take away is understand why you want a sense of community. So do you want it because you are the only woman in the tech world, in the tech space in your team? Do you want it for career progression, for growth, for networking, for a social life? 2 is to think about which resources, tools you have around you, i.e., what about, are you going to build a community in real life? Are you going to take it online? Are you going to go offline? 3 is to think about which social channels are there. So my advice always is to only pick 2 and no more than 2, otherwise it gets really difficult and complicated. LinkedIn is great for building community, but so are the likes of Slack, WhatsApp, Skype, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So only pick 2. So my 2, for example, are Instagram and LinkedIn at the moment. The next step is to see how active and how engaged you'd want to be. Now, community building and being a part of a community takes time, it takes effort, and it's a 2-way relationship. Sometimes it's like dating. It's going on a few dates and seeing if you're compatible and if you mix and if you mesh and if you're on the same wavelength and really can support each other to grow. That's how community is in the tech world. And 5, it's giving yourself a fair chance to get involved. As someone who was a carer, as a young professional, I often found that a lot of tech communities were very masculine, very alcohol driven, very much do things after hours, regardless of where you live. That's not what I wanted. So think about what you can offer. Can you build community initiatives virtually over a morning coffee, over a tea time event, maybe a lunch event? Through LMF Network, we host monthly tea times. So you can just come with your cup of tea randomly and speak to strangers on the internet. But because we are a trusted community, you know the people on the other side will be trusted too. We also have webinars, and in the webinars, the same way that I've shared here today, there's 5 things that I ask you all to share so that it's easier for you to connect, but at the same time, it's easier for other people to connect with you. An example being that throughout the networking section of this event, people have been discussing mentorship schemes. That's great. So one started a mentorship scheme, another conversation come up. I shared the fact that we do one, but that conversation went rolling and a lot of people who are looking for mentees or mentors connected. I'm going to take a moment to see if there's any questions and let you ask any questions if you would like to. This is meant to be a very informal and interactive session. I'm very aware that you have had lunch, that you're super busy, that you've been online since 9 or 10 this morning. And so I want to make sure that this is both quality of a quality section for yourself and something that you can really take away. So does anyone have any questions or any comments or anything to ask? Great, there's a comment that's come up saying, I found a lot of tech events are alcohol driven and I don't always feel comfortable as the only woman. I 100% agree with you. That's why that sense of community is so important. Providing accessible and equal or equitable social events is super important. Think about what you're doing in your workplace. If you are supporting or in charge of any social events, can you do them differently? Can people come in half an hour early to have a brunch or a breakfast? Can you have one lunch a month where someone takes over and talks about a particular topic? What about your community outside of work? Can you meet every Saturday of the month? Can you do virtual sessions instead of those which are in person? Through this COVID period, so since April to now, which is August, I've probably met more people and interacted and networked with more people online than I ever have in person compared. Because it's easy to drop people a message. A really good example is if you're interested in progressing in a certain area, or if you want to go forward, think about who inspires you, who you'd like to connect with. Build a template. Literally as easy as, hey, Sonya, I'm really interested in building a community online. I've seen that you've done it through Like-Minded Females, really inspired. I was wondering if you have time next Thursday at 3 p.m. for a really quick 15-minute introduction. I'd love to formally introduce myself and ask you a few questions. That's it. If I receive that message, and I receive about 35 to 50 messages a week, I will find 15 minutes in my diary to have a conversation. And if I can't help you, I already know what you're now looking for, and it'll be easy for me to redirect you somewhere else to another community that may be just as accessible. So think about how you're using tech to really build those connections and network online and the kind of messages you're sending and how you're getting involved yourself. Are there any other questions, any other bits that we can run through? The other thing that I'd like to kind of point out is using tech and being around tech and investing in technology has never been easier, but it also helps you when you would like to start a business. So this period of COVID has seen a lot of businesses being built and side hustles being built or hobbies being built because we can do things online that we couldn't have before. A really good example is I've worked in the last 2 months to build my personal brand, but I've also now just launched a female founders coaching program. It's 100% virtual, which means that I'm taking maximum 6 female founders on this journey for 4 months where they're going from idea to startup stage. Simply by reaching out and simply by using technology to build this community and this community of female founders who need to support each other for them really to progress and go forward. The same way with the mentorship scheme, we only got that up and running in 2 weeks. Initially, we thought no one would be interested. And so we just launched it thinking, you know what, maybe 20 people sign up. We had 150 people sign up because it was A, accessible, 2, virtual, and 3, free, therefore affordable. That new community of mentors and mentees support each other, reverse mentorship, and support in the technology sector has increased, but it's definitely helped us to build a whole new community within a community. And that also exists. Just because we are the umbrella brand of LMF Network and we're inclusive so everyone can join, doesn't mean you can't have different verticals which are accessible for different needs and cater to different wants of people. So we are changing the narrative of inclusion through a mentorship scheme, that's 1 community. Through a female founders program, that's 2 community. Through life skills workshops that are theme-based, and each theme has its own community that's being built out. Last year, we had an event where we started brunches and kind of business brunches in London. That was only about 12 months ago. This year, 2 of the ladies who met at a business brunch booked a 6-week holiday to Cuba from London at Christmas time. So the power of community is so insane that you can literally find your bestest friends and then be holidaying and be brunching and be supporting and cheerleading one another when you wouldn't even have thought so before. Are there any other questions or thoughts that I can cover? Again, very mindful this is your time, and I would want to make this session very interactive. There's a comment about reaching out and asking. Yes, definitely, please reach out and ask. There is absolutely no harm. What I would advise is make sure that your ask is very concise and that you've made it really easy for the other person. I.e., if you are messaging me, I want to know in that message that you've seen what I do, which you have said. If you say your journey is really expiring, building a community through LMF, I want you to propose how you would like to communicate or take things forward, i.e., if you have 50 minutes of time, I'd love an introduction call, and then propose a time and a date to make it really easy for me or the other person in the calendar. If you sent me that message or anyone gets sent a message and all they have to go is go look at their calendar to see if they're free, it's far easier to get a yes than it is fluffing around and kind of doing an email thread on a chain. Great, so there's a question come through. Would you have any advice for people working in more covert fields such as law enforcement? I'm the only female on a team of 6 men. I would like to go on Twitter for community and would like to encourage more women into the work sector, but worry about sharing too much information, putting myself at risk. Really, really great question. Such a great question. So the first thing I want to say is having an online presence doesn't mean you're having a personal presence online. It means that you are sharing your day-to-day professional self online, which is completely fine. The second thing is if you are working in a more sensitive department, you don't have to share all the cool sensitive things you're doing, but you can definitely share the gist of the projects you're working on, how you're championing one another. And if you're looking for more diversity to apply and to get involved, think about why you're looking for them and make that really clear. So for example, I'd be more likely, or my community, I know the people around us would be more likely to apply for a job role where they're very honest about, we don't have the best D&I, but we really want to work on that. And we're actively looking for more diverse talent and get them involved. At the same time on Twitter, like any social media, what you can do is in your bio, you can write, these views are not representative of my company, or these views are my own. And what that means is you are not speaking on behalf of your company, you're speaking on behalf of yourself. So even if you share too much, it's completely fine. And in terms of putting yourself at risk, it really means what you mean by that. But if you feel like your content or your conversation is risky, please block and delete, and please, just report spammy accounts. Especially as women, I feel that we don't have enough confidence in blocking and deleting and really using the block button, but definitely that is our best friend when it comes to social media. If you are also in a environment or a company or a team that isn't like typically digital, i.e., it's not a tech startup or fintech, let's say, because that's very digital and it's very kind of mainstream. Think about if you are looking to hire or looking to encourage more women into the sector, they want to know, what are they going to be learning? What does their day-to-day look like? What skills are they going to be focusing on? But at the same time, what does the balance look like? What does their hours and their day business as usual look like? What about the social events that exist? So don't be afraid to go out and share your real life experience and really make sure that you are showcasing the truth to encourage more diverse talent. And as I said this morning, and maybe it wasn't picked up, is that, you know, kind of people buy into people. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and you have to be comfortable being quite vulnerable, especially online, and letting people see as much of your truth as you can show. That's not to say you have to be 100% personal. So my social media, I don't talk about my relationships. I don't talk about my family. Those are two topics I don't touch. And that's completely fine. But I talk about me and my mental struggles and my mental health and what it feels to be a female founder, or what it feels to have worked in tech. You can definitely do the same thing as well. But please don't be afraid to try. I think my life's motto is the worst thing is, you know, I want to leave every situation knowing that I tried. Even if it didn't work at 100%, at least you gave it a go, because the what if is so strong. So please take your time to discover that what if. Try, put yourself out there and see if it works. The community will come as you grow yourself and as you give the truth of your experience and your understanding to others. The community will definitely kind of magnet towards you as well. No worries. Any other questions, any other comments that I can share, that I can work on, anything else that someone needs support with? Cool. It's a great question. This question is, how do you gain support? Sorry, how do you gain confidence in putting yourself out there? That's such a great question. So me personally, if I'm honest with you, I've always had a voice and I've always been quite confident in using my voice. What I didn't understand is why I wanted to use it. So when I first fell into university, I did not enjoy the experience until I graduated in my final year. When I first fell into the world of working, I definitely did not enjoy my work experience. I definitely did not enjoy my work experience. And it's because I didn't know what I was using my voice for and what I really stood for. So when putting yourself out there, you need to understand why you're putting yourself out there and who you are as an individual. So if we take a step back and ask you 3 questions, and this is what I do when I do community coaching and community building. So think about these 3 things. 1, what is your vision? So what is your bigger vision, right? What do you want to be? So for example, I want LMF Network to be the go-to community when people think of communities really changing the narrative of inclusion and leading social mobility through action-led kind of activities that can be implemented. I want to be the go-to network for diverse talent in tech, right? That's my vision, massive. Your mission, so after your kind of your vision is here, your mission is here. Your mission is, in the next 18 months, in the next 6 months, how do you get to that vision? What steps do you need to take? What is your SMART vision, your SMART mission? So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, or ambitious, depending on which route you want to take, realistic and time relative. So my mission, for example, at LMF would be to, in 2020, to upskill 1,200 people was our mission, to deliver 20 workshops. We've smashed all of that. We're already on 2,000 and it's August. And we've already delivered more than 40 this year. To provide 120 speaking opportunities for diverse talent in tech, to grow our social channels to 10,000, right? That's our mission. And then our values and our principles and ethics are what drive us. So it's the 5 things you want to be known for. So for LMF, we're known for diversity and inclusion, technology, entrepreneurship, personal branding, and confidence. So those are what we're helping you with, and that's what we're growing So how we do that is through like a mentorship scheme and through life skills workshops and through training. But that's what we want to be known for. So my point being that once you understand your values, your mission and your vision, once you understand your strengths and your skills and what you have to offer, i.e. the impact that you're making, you have the confidence to put yourself out there. The confidence comes with having a clear focus and knowing what you stand for, what your ultimate goal is, and having enough of a vision, knowing that you want to get there. So for us, I always knew that we wanted to be a community. We always wanted to use tech to build our community. What I didn't know is that we wanted to be a social enterprise or a not-for-profit business or a charity. That came very much organically. The community aspect was there. So our vision, we knew from the beginning. Our mission, we worked on. Our values, we very much came to play as we went along. That's not to say things can't change. Knowing that we started from a brunch club and now we're a not-for-profit business, of course we've changed. So every 3 months, go back to your vision, mission, and values. Go back to your skills and your strengths and go back to, okay, why do I want to put myself out there? If it's for a promotion, if it's for thought leadership, if it's to be a public speaker, if it's to be a part of a community, if it's to build one yourself, right, you need to have an end goal so you can work backwards and make sure that it's attainable. Does that help? Hopefully it does. Of course, anything that isn't covered or anything else you need support with, feel free to drop me a message. As mentioned, through the LMF platform, we do life skills workshops, we do mentorship scheme, which is all free and accessible. And we've just launched a female founders coaching program for 4 months, as well as myself, I do business coaching and kind of life coaching on the side. I think confidence is such a tricky one because confidence is subjective. Just because someone is out there on the screen, it doesn't make them confident. It just makes them public, right? Confidence comes from knowing yourself and knowing your value drivers and knowing that the decisions you make stay true to who you are. In November 2019, I quit my job in tech, in a really good tech, on a really good tech salary, because the company I was working for didn't align with my mission or my values. Now, to some people, that would be a how could you have done that? For me, that's the time I felt the most confident, is because I was able to align my decisions and my actions with something that really, really stood strong within me and my value system. So confidence comes from knowing what you stand for and being able to show up as that person every single day. Not necessarily putting yourself out there. The putting yourself out there is just being able to be public. When I first got my Instagram, I was terrible at Instagram because I was just sharing pictures with no context. And then I started really suffering again from mental health issues. And mental health issues is one of the reasons why I've started LMF Network. It was very much to help me with my own isolation, my own loneliness that's felt. Despite having a family and being in a relationship and having friends, I still felt very alone. So the point being, on Instagram, I decided to live my best life and live my best truth. And I was already confident in myself, knowing that I suffer from mental health issues and I wanted to talk about them. I just then chose to do it publicly. And that's when my branding really grew. And it goes back to that point of people buy into people. So you want to be thinking, what kind of people do I want to be? Who do I want to be known as? Who do I want to be known for? If someone shows up, what do I want them to take away and remember me for? Is it for the pretty pictures? Is it for the catchy caption? Is it for the truth? Is it for the essence? Is it for my personality and character? It could be for all of them. It could be for none of them. But the point being that I personally believe that technology is a basic human right at this time. Everyone is online. Everyone needs tech. If this period has taught us anything, it's that people don't have access to technology and we need to give it to them, especially when schools are going online and there are still many households that don't have laptops or iPads in their houses. How can we expect young persons, especially to study, if they don't have access to these tools. And so what can we be doing to make that easier? What can we be creating to find our own confidence and to showcase these accessible skills? Well, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Maslow says your needs start psychologically, and then they go up to kind of basics: food, water, oxygen. And then you get to a sense of kind of belonging before you achieve self-actualization. Where I think with technology, it's the opposite. I think technology is a fundamental basic. Then you find a sense of community, and then your identity starts to form because you start to form and you start to see yourself in this whole new light that maybe you weren't able to before because you didn't have a supportive system, because you didn't have the energy around you, because you didn't know what was possible or what you could achieve, because you couldn't see who you couldn't be, right? So for sure, confidence comes from within. Confidence comes from you knowing who you are and what you stand for. And don't be afraid to let that person shine, because that's who people want to know. People want to know the real you. People buy into people. People buy into your story, not necessarily the persona that you're showing online. And thank you so much for that question. Great comment. When you put yourself out there, and some people will show up and others don't, but when you do, so many people can relate to in your stories, and some friendships and community are built. Yeah, thank you so much for that comment. It's so true, and it makes a big difference. Great comment. Thank you for both your sessions. Been really inspiring and giving a fresh perspective of things. We'll definitely be looking at the mentorship tracks. Yeah, for sure. In the kind of solid event page and networking space, I'm going to share the networking section that is there and just let you get involved in that capacity as well. I'm just going to see if I can do it now, and then it may just be easier for me to get that going. Let me know if there's anything else that I can help you all with, or we can kind of talk about and share. Like I said, I'm very keen to support and help where possible and really get involved. That's the Google Doc for the mentorship scheme. Please do let me know if it works. It's for the next sign up, and then information will be sent your way from there. Any other questions, any other thoughts, please do let me know how I can help you, if there's anything I can do, any other information that I can share. No worries. I'm definitely here to support and help with community building. I often find that many people get the idea of building a community, they find it difficult and they find it unattainable, whereas my story is that if I can do it, you can do it. There is absolutely no difficulty in doing so, and you shouldn't feel any way when it comes to going and seeking help. And inevitably, that's what community building in, it's seeking help from a range of people and putting yourself in a place where you can learn from them and they can learn from you. And most importantly, where you can support one another. Communities are 2 or more people. So if you think about it, 2 or more people, that's not a lot of people that you can find who can support one another. And community building is all about sharing, supporting, and being vulnerable. And that's what we're here for today, and that's what we plan to do going forward. Thank you for that great comment. So on the older side of career, looking to shake things up, it's handy to know there's communities out there. Definitely think about, again, why you want a community, what you would like to bring to the community, and how you would like the community to bring something to you. There are tons of communities out there, and communities also evolve, right? When we first started, the community was just for women in tech. That was the vibe. Today, we're a community for everyone, focusing on tech and the tech landscape, but it's inclusive regardless of your gender or your ethnicity or your background. And that's evolution itself. And at the same time, there's a lot of age discrimination, which also needs to be handled and discussed and spoke about. That's why one of the things we do is a reverse mentorship scheme, so that there's reverse mentoring. And so you can feel like you can give back. At the same time, you can learn from those who are younger or older than yourselves and have something to offer. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and please don't be afraid to get involved in whichever way you feel possible. Any other questions or thoughts or comments that we can help with community? At the same time, please remember that this is your opportunity during this period and this event to network and really to put yourself out there and to meet new people. And the best way to do that is to introduce yourselves, to make sure you're aware of what they're looking for, what you are looking for, and how you can support one another going forward. I've put my LinkedIn in the chat as well, just so that you have the information there, and so that they can be connected in that respect. I mean, if there's any other question, any other things I can help you with, any other information that I can share. Great question. Is there anything different looking back at your time through university years that you would have feel you'd have done differently to make most of those years? Yeah, most definitely. Such a great question. So in my first year of university, I, believe it or not, was so skeptical and so worried about getting involved that I didn't get involved in anything or with anyone. It wasn't until my 3rd year that I went abroad to study abroad in Erasmus, and I came back in my 4th year that I really did. So my point being, if you are currently at university, there are certain things you can do to get involved. One, join societies, the societies that your future self would want to join and can help you with your future self, right? So in my keynote this morning, I said, live your life right now as if you are your future self. So think about what you would like to attain there and how you want to really kind of walk and talk and talk. 2, it would be to really acknowledge the strengths that you're building and not to downplay them. So we're in this world where we're constantly told our weaknesses, but people don't really acknowledge our strengths. We're constantly told, oh, you're not technical enough to be in tech, or you're too loud. I got that quite a lot. Or you're too chatty, or, you know, you're too impulsive, for example. Right, maybe I might be, but you know what? Those are my strengths. There are job roles out there, and there are job roles being made for those who like to talk and those who like to strategize and those who like to be impulsive. Thirdly, acknowledge how you work best, and don't be afraid to not follow the crowd. When I was at university, I realized that I could work really well in the morning and very well in the evening, but in the afternoon, I wanted to socialize and I wanted to chat and I wanted to go out. And that was completely fine as long as you're getting the work done. And it's how we need to start working now as well. If anything COVID's taught us, it's that we can all work remotely and we're just as efficient, but we need to be mindful of our own mental health, our own working hours, our best patterns, and our wellness. And hopefully that's a conversation we're all having. And if not, I'm happy to have that conversation with you all, kind of offline as well. But the point being that if I would go back to university, I would get involved in societies and challenge myself to learn new things that I didn't know how to do beforehand, and not be so afraid of doing so. So I remember there was a society for radio and podcasting. I was so scared to go and get involved. I was like, who wants to listen to me? I can't be in media. I don't look like someone in media. I didn't even know what to talk about. And now 5 years later, that's what I do for a living. But imagine if I'd really worked on my skills then, it probably would have really helped me now. But thank you so much for that question. Yeah, if I can help any university students or any young professionals here right now, it would be say yes to things and then just figure it out afterwards and see what happens. That's my kind of motto at the moment. I strategically wing things. I've strategically winged building a community. I've strategically winged being here today. I've strategically winged it so much that I now have a podcast called Strategically Winging It. So again, don't be afraid to try and give it a go. Sometimes the amount of information out there can definitely be overwhelming. Thank you for raising that point. And my kind of answer to that is you have to set your own boundaries. You have to, for example, delete social apps during the weekend. You have to acknowledge the 5 things that you want to be known for and only educate yourself in those 5 areas in depth, and the rest just kind of scroll over. You have to use the block and delete button for anyone that does not serve your energy and your purpose. And you have to start being very mentally strong and resilient so that you are in a place where you are able to handle your own and you don't feel overwhelmed, but you feel like you can handle it. It is super difficult being out there and being online, and we have to be really mindful of that as individuals, as community members, as colleagues, as friends. And setting boundaries is very important. Who inspires me online? You know, the honest truth is, I don't tend to. I tend to follow positive content and content that helps me to grow. I don't follow individuals. I don't follow people because of their names or kind of what I follow people based on the content they're sharing. If their message speaks to me and if I feel like I'm learning something. So I know that's not the answer that most people give and that's not the answer you expect, but I don't have just one person. I have so many people for different things. Starting August, I'm going to start my Instagram lives again, interviewing people that are cool. In my podcast, I interview people that are super cool for that reason, because there's so many people that inspire me, but for different reasons. I don't just have one person that inspires me because I don't think that would make sense, let's say, because everyone has something different to offer. There's a great question. I find it difficult to have an online presence and maintain good mental health. Do you have any tips? I have so many tips because my mental health goes bonkers when I'm online and I can't handle it. I actually can't. True story is when we first started the first LMF network, Instagram, I couldn't hack it at all. And I drove myself crazy that my co-founder, Jiwi Joshi, blocked me from our Instagram and would not let me back online. And remember, this is my network, right? This is my community. She was like, you need to go handle yourself. I need to learn how to set boundaries. So yeah, so my kind of good health and good mental tips. If you go on my social, for example, and I use Instagram as an example, I have a structure. So I have like a picture block, then a graphic, a picture block, and a graphic. The reason I have a structure on my feed is because then I don't have to mentally think too much about what I need to post next. And that really takes away from the whole, what should I be posting? Is this representative? Does this look good? Is this my good angle? Should I be taking a selfie element? So I have a structure as to how my feed is curated. I also go back to the really important thing that I keep sharing is, what are the 5 things you want to be known for? So my 5 things, for example, tech, diversity, confidence, business, and, let's say my kind of public speaking would be my 5th one. That's all I post about online in my content. And then LMF I post about because I'm a founder, but that comes under all of them anyway. The last thing, not the last thing, so much more, but one of the last things would be definitely delete social apps when you are on holiday and when you are just having some time out. I tend to now delete my apps Friday to Monday, they're deleted. I don't have Twitter downloaded on my phone. It's actually on my kind of Chrome tab on my phone, so I can just go through it. That's another one. I have deactivated all notifications on all social channels. So I don't know when someone messages me on WhatsApp. I tend to just go on and see when I go on and see, and I kind of cut off. If you need to reach me, ring me. Otherwise, I'm not going to see the message straight away. And the last thing and the most important thing that I keep repeating is, please don't feel like you need to follow people that are spammy or that make you feel uncomfortable or that don't live your values and that don't share the same energy as yourself. Block and delete, or just unfollow if you don't want to block and delete. Of course, that's a bit savage, but just unfollow accounts if they're not serving your energy. My mum always says, and if you listen to my TED talk, it's called Please Come Online. I say it at the end, but my mum says, if you are old enough to have this extremely powerful tool in your hand, if you are old enough to be online, you are old enough to be accountable and responsible for your decisions. Now, that also means the people we're talking to, the conversations we're starting or carrying on, and who we're interacting with, as well as the content we're sharing. So I think we as individuals need to come back and be accountable for our actions, especially online, and make it clear that we are online for a certain purpose. Our presence, i.e. building a business or building a community or trying to get promoted, and stick to that focus. If there's any other things that I can speak about when it comes to mental health or building an online presence or personal branding or how to mentally stay sane, please feel free to follow me and drop me an email. We can schedule a call if that's easy for you all. And I also do kind of monthly sessions on building an online presence that is always free, or a small fee is donated to the LMF mentorship scheme. So our next event's coming up on the 10th of August, which may also be of interest. Let me go through your other questions, and I can go for it. How do you stay motivated and so inspired? Honestly, I think I just have a lot of energy to invest. But the more important truth is I've realized what my purpose is. So if you were here during the talk, and even if you weren't, I mentioned that in November 2019, I quit my job. And I was probably in the top 10% paid, probably of young professionals in the UK, right? I had a great salary. Like, I don't deny the income that I had and the life I was living, but I wasn't happy. And so through a range of circumstances, I decided to quit my job. And I've realized through this kind of experience of the last 6 months of being self-employed, at times I'm earning 10% of what I earn, but I have never been happier. I've never been more inspired, because I realized my purpose is to help people. My purpose is to empower others to live as their best selves, is to enable them to live as their best selves through community, through life skills workshops, through these forums, for example, through really honest and open Q&A. So everyone is motivated and inspired when they find their passion, right? It's like when you go to a food place and you get really jittery and really excited over the dessert or the meal. It's because you really like that cuisine. Same thing, you know what you like, and the excitement fuels and it fires inside of you. It's the same thing. Once you start experimenting and understanding what drives you and what you like and what really motivates you, that motivation and inspiration will come out itself. But that is through a journey of kind of like really figuring it out. If you don't know how to figure it out, that's where you get someone like me as a business coach or a career coach to help you. I take on 5 clients a month as a maximum to help them with career and finding out what their sense of purpose is and really helping them to be motivated. The reason I do 5 is because I think at the same time, it's a 2-way relationship. So I want to invest quality time and build out really great content and support you in your journey, because I'm not chasing the money. I'm chasing really supporting and impacting people. And so that's the point I'm trying to make, is you stay motivated, inspired by knowing what kind of impact you want to create, by knowing which strengths you have, and by really being a sense of being in a place where you know your purpose. There's a great question. Missed the beginning of the talk. Could you start by how you initially had the courage to start your own business and follow your passion, avoid imposter syndrome, and feel like you need to be an expert from starting your own social and business platforms? Yeah, so that's a great way to end as well, right? So when I first started LMF, I did it from a place of mentally, I was not in a great place. I did not have a friendship group or community. I'd never been online. And despite never being online, my mental health was still kind of, let's say, 2 out of 10, because I didn't have a sense of community. And if you meet a lot of founders and a lot of business ventures or business people, they will tell you that their best ideas have come from that gray area and a problem that they themselves are trying to solve. So that was my problem. My problem was, I don't have people around me. Where are they? Why don't I have them? And why don't people look and feel like me? And how do we progress together? So I very much started my business through a closed LinkedIn group and then created a brunch event. No one came to the brunch event. I sat there crying. Dewey, who's my co-founder, took me for ice cream, made me feel better, and was like, do you know what, just try again. The second one, no one came. The third time, my friends came because I practically begged them to. And by the 4th time, other people and individuals started coming. And that was because I started showing my true self online and helping them to understand why I'm building this community, what's so important about it. I'm putting myself in a state of being vulnerable, but also open. So people buy into people. At the same time, it was never meant to be a business. So the best businesses are the ones that don't start as a business, but are solving a problem, they grow organically. Today, we're a business. We have over 17,000 in our following. In 2020, I was the first South Asian woman in the world to give 2 TED Talks in the space of 6 months. I've never been a social media expert. If anything, I didn't have social media until Jan 2019 for myself. But what I've always been comfortable doing is giving it a go. And giving it a go is where you learn what you're good at, what you're not so great at, where you need to learn and where you can improve, but most importantly, where your strengths are. And so through that journey and through that business journey, because I'm very mindful of time, I have a tagline, which I say I've strategically winged it, because I've kind of gone into 2019 thinking, right, I'm just going to do something I can do 10% of or 20% of and then figure out the rest. And that mentality I've carried into myself in 2020. So when I quit my job in November, I didn't have a plan, but I knew I was really passionate about building communities and helping people to become more diverse and inclusive and really empowering women and minoritized groups to live their best selves. All right, so I had a plan. I then had to work on my vision, my mission, and my values. I had an end goal in 2020, and I'm working towards it. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. So for those who want to learn more about my story, but also the story of other entrepreneurs and founders who have built communities, who have had the courage to start their own businesses, who have avoided imposter syndrome, please listen to the podcast, because that's probably the easiest way forward. If you're a female founder and you're interested in building out your business, I'm currently running a pilot program for 4 months starting September for a maximum of 6 female founders to take them from a journey of having an idea to actually launching some kind of business or side hustle or hobby. And at the same time, our community platform through the LMF network is accessible, it's free. We don't ask for membership. There's nothing paid except what you kind of eat and what you drink and what you join into. And that's by design. My name is Sonya Barlow. If I haven't already introduced myself to you, I'm an award-winning entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, diversity consultant, podcast host, community builder. I have done all of this in 2 years. So if I can do it, then you most definitely can do it. And it is now my life's goal to help other people live their best selves, show up as their best selves, be their best selves, and really be in a position where they are thriving in whichever opportunity they wish. I've added my social channels so you can follow me, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I believe that the session is overrunning now, but thank you so much for your questions. I'm still around if you have any more questions. If there's anything else I can do for you, please feel free to put in some time in my calendar, connect with me on social media. And as I mentioned, I'm here for your taking and here to support you in any wish I can. So please don't be afraid to get involved and ask for that help. And another thing I just want to end on is when someone says, I'm available for help, please take them up on it. Don't feel like, oh, you know, they've just said it as a kind gesture. No, if someone said it, definitely be like, okay, cool. Yeah, you said it. Now, how can you help me? Don't be afraid to ask. Great. So I'm going to let you all go. Thank you so much for your time and being here, and I will talk to you later.